you today. This is a summer series, Sports Tech Startups. Blaine is one of our founders, is part of the Game Plan U program. Steve Busby, who's coming in as well with Hive Gaming, formerly of Revel Marketing, really focused in on the esports business. So it's all about gaming. It's all about esports. I'm going to add Steve in because he's back again. So Steve, just stay there for a second. I'm just going to promote you to a panelist. So hopefully you could bounce in any second now. And Steve Busby, by the grace of God,
We're
Can
in.
you guys hear me?
Yay!
Unbelievable. We're on my cell phone at this point. We've abandoned all other options, but here we are.
Well,
Oh, goodness.
at least you're here. So we got Blaine and we got Steve, and this is what happens when you go live. You just keep on rolling with it. So
Yep.
a couple housekeeping things. Anything that you have for comments, you please share, even though if it's a rebroadcast that you're watching, please make your comment. Also leave in your contact information, preferably a LinkedIn link. So everybody here could get to know each other. Please make any type of question that you have. Leave a comment as well. We'll try to read them and have them answered by Steve and Blaine. And I think Sports Biz Radio on YouTube and Spotify, if you're not watching, all our other podcasts and broadcasts are on there. Denise has a new podcast coming out, Mindset Mondays. And so Denise is going to kick it off and start it. And then we're going to go around the horn. So Blaine, we're going to go for you first. And then Steve,
Sure
we're going
thing.
to go for you. We're going to ask you the same question. Okay. And then Denise and I are going to rotate who asked that question. So Denise, I'll send it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys again for being here. Super excited to talk about this topic tonight. There's a lot of energy around it, and we know that you guys are right in the mix with all of it. And so we're excited to hear your perspectives and your insights on this. So thank you again for being here. So Blaine, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do. What is it that you do in the world of esports?
Absolutely. So my name is Blaine Bell. I am the owner and manager of Sanguine Esports. We are a competitive gaming organization, as some people say. It's a bunch of people that are literally right now practicing in a basement to play video games. And I go ahead and manage that and kind of work with everything else around it. So as a business, we are a normal brand like any other, similar to any NFL, NBA team. We operate in the same space and capacity, except in something called the SPL, which is known as the Smite Pro League. And my job as the owner and brand manager is to go ahead and build the brand as much as possible for this one league, and potentially with other possibilities in other different spaces. My brand is not limited to one different subject like the Portland Trailblazers or the New England Patriots. I'm able to go ahead and go into different areas. So that is something that I kind of focus on, as well as working on branding with my players and their public perception.
Awesome. It's a nice, quick snapshot of what you do.
Thank you.
And Steve, how about you? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do, your business? And I know you transitioned and you've pivoted over the last couple of months, or actually maybe even the last couple of weeks, but tell us a little bit about where you're at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the founder currently of Hive Gaming. We are a full service partnership marketing and really kind of team guidance agency, if you will. I haven't come up with the right term for that yet. But we do three different things. Like Revel, my former company, we do partnership sales on behalf of a few select organizations. We are completely and solely leaned into esports and gaming with Hive, where at Revel we were more in traditional sports, live events, and music festivals, as well as esports and gaming. But the esports industry is really where we made our name over there. So with everything that went on with COVID and the growth of esports that ensued, it really made sense to make a pivot and lean fully all in to the esports and gaming culture. So launched Hive Gaming publicly a couple of weeks ago, but we kind of quietly started to get some things in order and establish an initial roster of clients. one of the main things we're going to be trying to do is not only the property representation, but also helping consult with brands to enter the space that are new and looking for a little bit of guidance in how to do it effectively and authentically. It's the most overused word in the space, but almost all brands need help with speaking that way to the gaming audience. And we think that our 5 years of experience in the industry really make us lean and mean in that category. And then the final part of our business is helping new and emerging teams establish a voice for themselves, get aligned with the right partners, and find investment. So it's a fun little project that we're just getting off the ground with, but it has a lot of potential and we're excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of verticals there to dive into and really expand and grow. So amazing. Awesome. Thank you. Rob, I'm going to throw it over to you.
So let's talk about trending in the marketplace. So just assume people that are watching this have no idea about esports. They're really interested in it. It could be a major brand taking a look at this video right now. It could be someone in the media landscape. So Blaine, over to you first. What do you see trending from a gamer's perspective? You're with these guys, you're eating breakfast and lunch and dinner with them every day. You're yelling at them, you're coaching them up, you're doing everything you can. What do you see happening in the space, assuming that who's watching this has no idea about the business right now? So help educate them on what's trending.
Well, so the popular things, and actually probably the biggest benefits from esports is the ability and the accessibility of these players. So they have the ability to go ahead and reach their audience, and Steve can attest to this as well, is the content that these players are putting out. They have a much closer connection to their fans than any normal athlete might. So if an NBA player goes ahead and sends a tweet out, you can go ahead and respond, but you're not actually going to get in contact with the player. But with esports, part of their income is actually being able to go ahead and stream on different platforms such as YouTube or a website called Twitch, where they can go ahead and interact with their fans and viewers through a chat box, through donations, and other various ways to go ahead and get a hold of them. But you can ask questions or actually sometimes even get in calls with your favorite players and mentors. And then with that, you can build a relationship or even get to know them. So it's a really cool vertical where you can actually have just fan interactions and be able to go ahead and build those connections. So that is one of the biggest ways that some companies are actually utilizing and leveraging esports, is being able to go ahead and have those authentic and personal connections with the players. So fans will go ahead and associate that with a different product.
Great. Thank you, Blaine. And Mr. Busby, by the way, I love the Game of Thrones set that you have there. Your old version of it.
Awesome.
I'm gonna change that same type of question, but I'm gonna change it up a little bit. Give us a perspective from your side of it when you're looking at brand equity, brand value. Look at it from a tournament, a team, and the player perspective. What do you see changing? What's your conversations like with sponsors and properties around those three different platforms when looking to do activation? How does that work, and what do you see changing from the last 18 months?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're all changing dramatically right now just because there's so many brands that are rushing into the space. So it's giving us a lot of opportunity to test out new concepts and be flexible. I think historically, you've got totally different assets with each one. When you're looking at the property side, historically, I think that's probably the easiest one, or the event producer. It's probably the easiest one for traditional sports sponsorship brands to get their head around, because it's got all the same media assets. You're kind of picking and choosing which ones make the most sense and resonate for your brand, and trying to tie in a key message to the stream. And it's fairly turnkey and easy. But where some of the best value partnerships are coming in is by aligning with the influencers, so the teams, and getting in with them in a meaningful way, which is simply not just putting your logo on their jersey. It's more creating money can't buy experiential, and that's where I think the next generation is going. And I'll probably just pick that to best answer the question in short form is where do I think teams are going to go with it? I ultimately think, given the number of different titles that are out there in esports and gaming, there's no LeBron James of esports, right? There's 15 of them. You know, there's one for every game title, and oftentimes being a team-based sport, you don't necessarily all rely on one player. So creating these kind of opportunities to ride along or be a part, or tips and tricks, like I just think there's a huge opportunity in the industry right now to create exclusive content for brands that help fans become better gamers. So, you know, if you watch Spotlight on ESPN Plus with Peyton Manning, where he analyzes and breaks down, you know, NFL players and QBs play from the previous Sunday, that's really interesting. But I mean, how many of us can get 20 guys out on a field to go play a game of football and practice what Peyton's telling us, right? Whereas esports gives you the opportunity to learn from what they're saying and get online and put it to practice right away. So I think, you know, brands leaning into improving the gamer experience, creating money can't buy, you know, hands-on, like I get a chance to meet and greet the team in a one-on-one fashion, one-on-one coaching. Experiences like that are going to be kind of the next chapter, is getting a little more involved in helping people improve their gaming experience as a fan, is where I think it's headed. You know, we're past the early, you know, toes in the water and logo slap stages.
Yeah. And actually, can I piggyback off that real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
There is one thing where, for the kind of experiences and learning about the different games, one of our most viewed pieces of content was because we're the only Latin American team in our entire league. So people are always wondering, what are the it's called the comms. So what are the comms like when you're hopping in the game and the team's trying to go ahead and call out what's going on, what they want to do, what's it like? And so our most one of our most viewed videos on Twitter, I believe, is our in-game comms for getting one of the big objectives in the game against Space Station Gaming. And so we went ahead and captured that objective, and then we were running it down to the enemy Titan to end the game, and the guys were screaming their heads off. And so just having those, seeing what it's like to actually be in the game with the players, is just something that was so meaningful. It got over 40,000 hits just on Twitter. So just having something like that where you can be in the driver's seat with the players is just so much more meaningful than just watching the game itself.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think people are having these amazing experiences that they've never been able to have before through technology and all of these other venues. And so it's just so cool to have all of these things coming together. But I want to ask, you know, COVID happened, right? Steve, you talked about this a little bit, and just, you know, when Rob pops off like that, he's been having internet trouble. So we're just going to keep going, and he will do his best
no worries.
to get back in here. But I got you guys, so don't worry. You know, so COVID happened, right? And Steve, like you said before, lots of people are kind of like flooding into the market right now, or trying to develop a business or a product or a service or whatever it is. Has anything changed, you know, in the last 6 months for you all in terms of how you operate? Or were there any particular challenges in the last 6 months that you came up against that you had to kind of manage, or, you know, pivot or deal with? And Blaine, we'll start with you on that.
Sure thing. Well, so probably my biggest challenge from COVID in the past 6 months is, I would say, bringing my players to America, because for our specific league, they're all living in the same house, and they were supposed to compete from a studio, but because of everything, they had to go ahead and move it all online. So the guys are living in the house now. They only 4 out of the 5 of them have been to America on a temporary basis, like 2 weeks at a time. So they don't know the ins and outs of doing daily chores, getting groceries, taking care of household, everything like that. So moving in and just teaching them everything about living in America while also being under lockdown was probably one of the biggest challenges, I feel. Just how to go ahead and buy groceries and everything like that. It's really basic stuff, but when you're out of it, you're out of it, and it is just something very challenging to deal with. So that's probably one of my biggest experiences for the past 6 months.
Okay, great. Welcome back, Rob. We're talking about challenges and pivoting in the last 6 months here. So we're going to throw it over to Steve.
Yeah, I think honestly, one of the big things has just been being sensitive to some of your traditional big sponsors and big spenders in the space right now are faced with a lot more challenges than others, right? And being sensitive to which ones are faced with those tough times, and kind of almost extending an olive branch in a way of, look, there are companies like, let's look at like the airlines, right? Delta and Southwest. I think it's someone at one of the companies, when I reached out to them, just kind of touching base and saying, hey, would you want to catch up? They were like, it's a tough week for us. We just let go of 1,700 people in the last couple of weeks. And it's just one of those things that you have to be mindful of as you're reaching out, is kind of being a little bit understanding of the fact of, there's a lot of economic impact on a lot of these brands. So there's some that are thriving. There's some that are, hey, we put all of our money into the big four, and we're kind of worried about the fact that the Marlins, got all those cases of COVID, and then it started to expand out in MLB. Now we need a contingency plan. So we've kind of just been nimble and ready to react when these things pop up, because the landscape is literally changing every week, and you really don't know what the future is going to look like. But the one thing that has been solid is esports is going to continue on, and we're always going to have a strong presence because it's digital, because it's safe, because you can do it at home. So it's COVID proof in that way, and I think that's why a lot of brands are turning to it.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think you both kind of brought up the human side of what we do. We're talking about sports technology here tonight, but you both really just talked about having to pay attention to and be sensitive to and be mindful of how everything that's going on in the world is impacting the players, impacting fans, impacting companies, businesses, and then just, making sure that you lead with that. Because relationships are so important, and we can't move forward and be successful in business if we don't have good relationships and we're not taking care of those around us. So awesome. Thank you, guys.
So you mentioned COVID proof, right? And I just think that was a critical kind of segue into this. The attention of an audience, right? There was a window there where no Major League Baseball, no NHL playoffs, right? No NBA playoffs. There was a 4-month window there that attention shifted. Blaine, start off with talking about, what does the next 12 to 18 months look like from a publisher standpoint? Have they given you any idea of what their strategy is to grow? Do they feel like they've gotten more attention? Has your brand with your game from a publisher standpoint, do you feel like that's happening? And what other platforms with Twitch and maybe ESPN and NBC do you see from the broadcast standpoint? Is that part of the conversation that, from your perspective, that publishers are getting into? So grabbing the attention of consumers.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be some planning the next 6 to 12 months from the publishers and the broadcasters. I can't say for certain what's going to happen between those relationships. There could be some things where maybe we do see more esports broadcasted on cable television and traditional viewing platforms, but I'm not for sure on that. When it comes to the publisher, though, I think that this has actually been I don't want to say a improvement of a year, but over the period of time, there's actually been a lot more attention than what I would have originally thought would come. So it's definitely people have moved their eyes towards digital formats, and they're able to go ahead and see what's going on with it. When we first joined the SPL and started competing, we had analytics that I had no idea I would make in the first year of joining the Smite Pro League. And it was, in the first couple months, we were getting over 1 million impressions a month, and it was just insane. But I think that is also due to the fact of people couldn't really go anywhere, so they were focusing their attention on other things, rightfully so, because it was able to go ahead and pull them out of some reality a little bit, and they could go ahead and find something else to do and just enjoy themselves for a little bit.
Got it. So I'm gonna just add a little bit to this one, Steve. From your perspective, do you see from the broadcast standpoint and from the sponsor standpoint, I know that you said it's a little bit of a funky time right now to talk to sponsors, but do you see them when they pulled back on their sponsorship or sponsorship opportunities went away for them? Do you see them reallocating some of their funds that maybe in the end of Q3, Q4 towards esports?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where a lot of my conversations have been lately, is a reallocation of dollars for Q4. You know, people are looking at, you know, just you got to have a backup plan for the backup plan for the backup plan, it seems these days. And you know, that's where a lot of the conversations have kind of gone, is, you know, we can weather, you know, out the rest of Q3 where it's uncertain, but if we're headed into Q4 and all the big four are off and all those dollars are not planned for in case they need to move them, people are going to be lost. So I think, you know, back at the start, there was obviously just a frenzy, right? And then people started to calm down a little bit and get used to the fact that this was the new normal. And as that started to happen, people did start shifting attention to esports and at least entertaining dialogues. Now I think, you know, it's either a part of the main plan a lot faster than it was originally intended to be, or it's at the very least a part of the contingency conversation. So, you know, there's a lot of people rushing in, and you would think that that would kind of drive price tags up dramatically, right? Because there's higher demand for the assets. But with the amount of attention that's getting turned towards esports and gaming, there's also a lot of new organizations that are popping up too. So there's more content, there's more opportunity at the same time, and it's kind of keeping pace with itself. You know, so it's a really interesting and dynamic landscape.
Well, I just need a backup plan for my bad Wi-Fi that I have. So
You need a hotspot.
Yeah, Denise, over to you.
Yeah. So assuming that someone watching this YouTube has no idea about esports industry whatsoever, but they really want to get into it, they want to dive in, what advice would you give them? What kind of training do they need, if any? What kind of skills do they need? You know, how do they fit in, and how do they get started if they have no idea and have never worked in esports arena before? Blaine, we'll start with you.
Yeah. Someone that wants to get into esports, they can go ahead and just honestly start learning about the different kind of leagues and platforms where people can watch and everything like that, and just start on the real ground level of maybe there's a specific game that you have an interest in, or maybe if it's your kids have an interest in, you want to go ahead and learn something like that, and just have that as a good starting point. And that way you can go ahead and see maybe where their games are played, how you can go ahead and view it, who the publisher is, how that interacts with other games, or the comparison maybe, and just see where that is a good jumping off point. When it comes to actual careers, I think that there's a lot of overlap between traditional and new age marketing management and everything like that. When it comes to, I mean, with I guess let's pick marketing. The social media and regular, even print, are actually pretty similar when you're going and looking at a business and advertisement standpoint. Through if you want to just go ahead and capture eyeballs, it's just figuring out how to go ahead and talk to the new generation, but the general ideas are kind of the same. So you can go ahead and just figure out one specific spot or one specific title, start from there, learn about where they operate and how you can build.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, you know, it seems like a perfect opportunity for me to plug that we're hiring interns, but I'll avoid the desire. I mean, look, you're talking to a guy that I got my start by paying to get into a program so that I could intern for somebody for free. You know, so it is one of those, it's just like traditional sports. I mean, you kind of got to pay your dues to get in. I'll give you a contextual example that isn't me, because I think that'd be more helpful. But I was just meeting with a founder of a new team called Jason Desong. They're going to be playing in Valorant. You know, they've got this new game title that's all the hot buzz right now, and he's trying to start a new org around it. But you know, he got his start by volunteering in Dallas to come out for a weekend for a big tournament, and just showed up and said, "I'm ready to go, you know, wherever you need me," and ended up working in the production side of the event and kind of running around and making sure right people were in the right place from a broadcast element standpoint. And it just, you learn a ton about the ins and outs of how, the guts of these organizations and what brings these live events, to the screen. And there's just so many different jobs and opportunities in this. So whether it's on the production side or the sales side, the business development, the programming, there's a lot of jobs here. I mean, this is the fastest growing industry to be a part of right now. So I think, the best way to figure out where you fit into all of it is look for some kind of new organization, new event production company, new tournament host, at a regional level. If you can get in with one of the big national ones, you're going to be interning for free for sure. But it'll be invaluable experience, to see what part of the ecosystem you really like and gravitate towards. And then there's always going to be opportunities, with all of the emerging content and new stuff that's out here seemingly daily. There's going to be opportunities for you to kind of establish your value. That's one of the beautiful things about esports and gaming, is it really is a meritocracy in that way. If you can bring something to the table and add value to the experience, whether it's on the user side, the fan side, the gamers, helping the professionals, there's a lot of different ways in. So really, the short answer is just find an organization near you and start asking questions about how you can get involved.
Learn by doing, right? Just diving in. And I love that advice. We talk, Rob and I and Mike talk about that all the time during our meetings. Just, you got to dive in. You got to be willing to do anything. You got to be willing to try anything, and you never know what you're going to learn. So I love that advice. Thanks, both of you.
So gentlemen, thank you for your time today. We really do appreciate it. I know the folks out there that will be watching this and hopefully learning and exploring and discovering esports as an industry. I know we could sit here and talk for another 2 hours, but I want to leave with you. I want to leave with this. Final thoughts on where your head is right now. If you're going to look back at this now, 5 years from now, Blaine, you're going to look back at this. What message are you going to give to yourself? What's the final thoughts?
What message would I give to myself? Don't, I guess don't stop trying anything and everything. Because at some point it will probably work, but it just depends on how long you're going to be trying it.
I love it. And Steve, besides you're going to yell at yourself for your curtain selection, but besides that, what would you want to say to yourself if you've got to see this in 5 years?
Since this is my second org and second go around, I think I'm hoping that I'll be saying to myself, it's almost like if I could talk to that person now, I'd ask him to tell me this, but it would be, stay calm with it, keep it slow, gradual growth, work with organizations you believe in, do it the right way, and stay true to your values. I think it's just important in this time in particular, that people show their human being element. We've talked about it a couple times throughout this, but the best moments that I've had haven't been monetary during COVID. They've been, the moments where friends of mine in the industry, in particular, I'd like to call out Neil Duffy of the Collegiate Star League. He was one of those guys that called me when I started and announced Hive Gaming just to wish me well and that he's a fan, and he knows that we'll be all right, and he knows some of the tough times that we went through with Revel. And I'd say the same thing about Christian Bishop and Rebecca Lungawa. You find out who your friends are in these times, and I hope that I've been that to a few people as well. But one thing that I've been saying to everyone during COVID is it's kind of been a blessing in that it shrunk everybody's world back down to some ugly curtains and a few walls that we have in our house, right? We've got our yards, we've got our houses, and we've got our cell phones. And it actually has allowed the opportunity to connect with people in a way that we don't always get the opportunity to. So take the time to step outside of your profession as well. Call that long lost friend or family member. COVID's been really good for that for me, and I've been trying to pay that forward by reminding people to call somebody you love and remind them of that. It'll make you feel better.
Well said. That was fantastic. Denise, you want to final thoughts? You want to wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for your time, for your expertise. I know that people watching will really get a lot out of this, and we'll be able to take from this and move forward. And Rob, glad your technical difficulties have resolved. And I guess final words would just be dive in. Dive in, keep relationships healthy, and don't look back.
On behalf of Blaine, Steve, Abby in the background, Denise over there, I'm Rob Thompson. You're watching Game Plan U today, our startup summer series. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.